facing head-on the emotions beneath the surface as we bridge from an old world of confusion and lack to a beautiful new world of freedom, abundance, and love with straightforward truth and inspired hope is what you'll find on The Charla Anderson Show. Collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating. Here's your host, Charla Anderson.
Good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, especially you. So grateful that you join us today here on winwinwomen.com, winwinwomen.tv, the live streaming services, and listening to us podcast globally around the world with Potatize. And so grateful that you'll take the time to join us today. I've got a wonderful guest and Teresa Velardi, I'll say, and then we're going to do our little mini vacation, our little 22-second mini meditation to just get us grounded and settled for this next hour or so. So I think, it helps us a lot when we're so attached to these devices that maybe we take a 22 seconds. So what we're going to do is breathe in, calm for 7 seconds. We're going to hold for 4 seconds and breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So if you will join me, here we go. Let's breathe in some calm. Hold. Release. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So grateful that you would join us on that and have a really wonderful opportunity to just chill. Just chill. So I've got Miss Teresa Velardi from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and she is joining us today with all about book publishing and all kinds of stuff. So one of the things I like to ask Teresa is, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So I grew up in Long Island. I am the eldest of 4 children. I have 2 sisters and a brother. They are writing material all on their own. So I moved to this area, Pennsylvania, about 20 years ago. And I'm looking for a warmer space to go based on the weather in PA. The winters are cold here and challenging. So not that it wasn't cold on Long Island, but I'm looking to go to a warmer
Texas.
climate. Yeah.
Texas.
I have a couple of friends there who say, come to Texas. Yeah. But I'm not sure where that will be yet. I'm sure I'll get guidance on how that's going to happen and when. I have one son who is an entrepreneur himself. He owns a restaurant locally, and I'm very proud of who he is and who he has become as a man, despite all the challenges we had with my ex-husband. So I entered into writing by using a journal every day to write down my feelings and my thoughts and my gratitude each day. And it's been going on for years and years and years, many years. I'm also a potter. I'm a ceramic artist. I took my first pottery class in high school. I had done those, paint the ceramic things before, but I had never made anything on the wheel. And it was like coming home the first time that I did that. It was crazy. So I've been blessed with many gifts and talents, and I do my best to use them to do what I do in helping people get their stories told in books and to encourage others to do the same.
Well, you've got a series going, which I think is amazing. And I just happen to be involved in a daily gift of hope. And it's a daily gift book series, right? A daily gift of hope. In my chapter, I think I'm on page 137. So make sure you get that book and, read about hope. And you've done a daily gift. The first one is a daily gift of
Gratitude.
Gratitude. And then you're doing a daily gift of kindness next, right?
Next, yeah. And then peace comes after that. So
Peace.
yeah, we have the series came about, it was one of those little taps on the shoulder that I got from God that said, this is what I want you to do. And it lingered for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years before I finally got a kick in the pants and was told, right, do the gratitude one first. And so that happened in 2022. And then Daily Gift of Hope came out in 2023. And kindness will be out. We're looking to launch it on the International Day of Kindness, which is in November. Details are on the website, dailygiftbookseries.com.
dailygiftbookseries.com. If anyone wants to contribute to that book series, what a gift that would be, right? So that's
indeed.
huge. And who doesn't need all these things, right? And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of good people in this world. I believe, and I'm outrageously optimistic, that there are more good people than bad, that God wins, good wins. And in spite of what we sometimes see out here, I don't really watch much news, but we know that things are not as it were when we grew up. So things are shifting in a fast and furious way, but I feel like it's almost like the devil's last grasp at trying to take us down or something, take us out. So anyway, the point I want to make is I believe there's more good than bad. I mean, across the board, there's so much good in this world. And that's beautiful that you're finding the people that believe that too, that I surround myself with people that believe that I don't pay much attention to the negative stuff. Right. So,
I agree. In that category, we are sisters for sure. That's definitely for sure, because I do my best to focus on what's positive, bring out to the world what's positive, help to uplift people wherever possible in conversation. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't watch the news either, by the way. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world. And what I need to know comes to me some way or another. Somebody will tell me, or it'll show up on my screen if I'm working on the computer. But I don't stay there. And I don't think anyone should. And part of the reason that I think the series is so prevalent now, that book series, is because the world needs to be grateful. We need to find things that we're grateful for, so we don't let ourselves slip into the insanity of what's going on around us. I think that hope is something that everybody needs, regardless of who you are, where you live, what you have going on in your world. Hope and faith belong together. And then the kindness piece, regardless of anything that's going on, there is no reason why you can't be kind to people. There's no reason for anybody to be lashing out and whatever. It leads to all things nefarious if you're that kind of person. But kindness, paying it forward, doing something good for somebody else, always lifts everybody. It lifts both sides of the equation. Exactly.
And the entire vicinity, my tiny book I have behind me there, the candy bar hugs. It doesn't take much to make a difference. Tiny, tiny book. And it's about paying it forward, offering a candy bar, offering a hug before the elbow bump thing happened, but we're back to hugging again. And, so you would notice everybody else starts smiling or feeling a little up, and it's to the checkout people at the cashier instead of the big buck people behind you in the line. If you're buying those expensive coffees, it's really the people serving you at the checkout at Walmart or somewhere, Kroger's, those people, to me, are the ones that probably get the most out of it. It's always a kind gesture, no matter when you pay it forward. It's a pay it forward type book, right? So that's a huge piece to our world. I believe each one of us does our part. It'll get better. Keeps getting better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, one of the things that, it's not a matter of necessarily Compliments go a long way to spread kindness. You know, when I am walking out of the store, or I see somebody who is maybe a woman, has a great color hair. I love the color of your hair. Something, I hope you have a great day, and just something just to stand out of the crowd of people who are just walking with their heads down or have their face in their devices and whatnot. It's a little bit different, a lot more uplifting if you are nice to people.
And it goes usually, it goes a really long way. So good. Yeah. So, oh yes. And I was going to say, so what I've noticed over the time, you know, that sometimes people are hard to love. And I think the deal is love them anyway, because the
Exactly.
harder they are to love, the more they need it. They don't love themselves enough sometimes to even receive a gift of even a candy bar, right? Or a hug. So sometimes you just love the person in front of you as God loves, without judgment, with no agenda. No agenda is a
Exactly.
huge piece too. Just being kind, making it doesn't take much to make a difference.
Doesn't take much to make a difference at all, Charla.
And even just a smile is the cheapest and the freest thing you can do. And most people are afraid. Why are we afraid to smile at somebody? They think nobody's going to be afraid of a 70-year-old lady trying to hug them, in the grocery, without, I always ask permission, but, it's not like we have to just be, what's the word I'm trying to, it's like, just be real and just reach
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Authentic,
Absolutely.
I guess, is the word I was looking for, or something like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, exactly.
So you're doing, I'm really intrigued about this pottery thing that I don't think I knew about you. We did how we met, senior tubers. There's a
Mhm.
senior tubers community. Those of us that have podcasts and are trying to figure out how to work in YouTube, and this and Fran Acero has this wonderful little group, and she's a riot, and speaking of
Yes, she's
real.
great.
And so she's so much fun. And she's so we've got a senior tubers community and a senior tubers smaller group, a creators group that we've got, I think, is a private group. So
Mm-hmm.
we've become friends. I mean, it feels like we're in a little bit of a family on that small group, and becoming
Yes.
friends. And got a couple other of our members going to be on my show in the next couple of months, so that'll be fun too, including
Mhm.
Fran. Um, so that's how we met.
Mhm.
And then you invited me to be in this book, and then on a podcast. And so we just kind of been weaving through,
Mhm. Yeah,
right?
it's been great. It's been great. And the pottery thing, you
That's
know,
that's what I wanted. That's where I was going with that, I wanted to know how we met, but I wanted to ask you, how did this, I mean, you found your passion for pottery, you said, in high school,
yeah,
and you relate it to coaching, right?
yes.
You have a
Mhm.
coaching program, so you relate it to coaching. How does that work?
Okay, so interesting. I was I was sitting at the wheel one day, and I said to myself, I was having a conversation with God, because I always invite God into everything that I do. Just, he's there anyway, so why not invite him? It's the kind thing to do. So I'm sitting at the wheel, and I said, all right, is this it? Is this what you want me to do with this gift? Go just make these, whatever, the vases, the bowls, the plates, the cups. Is this what you want me to do? And I heard in my spirit that there was a book, and that I should write a book. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I worked through, like, the steps of making pottery and how they relate to transformation, how they relate to people, how they relate to a business, how they relate to basically anything. You can be transformed through the process of making pottery. Now, if you go back to biblical scripture, God is the potter, we are the clay, right? So I took my nudge and I got on a call with a friend of mine, and we figured out exactly how to put the steps of making pottery together into where it's easy to say transformation. And if you want me to, I'll go through them now for you.
Go for it.
Okay. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to prepare. You have to prepare the clay for the wheel, and that takes some pushing and shoving. It's like kneading dough when you wedge the clay, and then you have to center the clay on the wheel. So the first step is to prepare, get ready for transformation. The second one is to center, get yourself focused on what it is that you want to do. And the centering process is exactly what it says, what it sounds like. It's like putting the clay into the center of the wheel so that you get an even spin on the clay, and you can work it easily, and it will be centered throughout the entire process. The third step is to open. After the clay is centered, you have to open the piece so that you have the walls of you can create the walls of a cup, a bowl, whatever. So when you are doing anything transformational, whether it's personal or with business, you have to be open to what is coming before you. So that's where the open comes into play. And then it is a mold and shape. You have to mold and shape the clay. So you bring the walls of the clay up, and then you decide what kind of shape you want to have. So what does this transformation look like in the end? Are you picturing what it looks like? Do you have an idea for a business, but you just don't know how to get there? Just write it down, how you picture it, and the information will come to you. So after you create the shape, you have to set it aside for a little bit and let it dry enough to be able to trim it. So the drying process is really the time of waiting. So taking what you've learned from shaping your business or your goal for whatever it is that you want to change, you use this time of waiting in order to be able to put that together. Then you have to trim. So you have to trim away what's not necessary. And then you have to put it again on the shelf and reevaluate again. Now, after that, you go into the fire. People say, oh my God, the fire. You go into the fire. There's two firing processes in the pottery making sequence. The first one is the purification process. So in the kiln the first time around, it pulls out all of the elements of the clay that are not necessary. So in order to be able to create a strong foundation for the piece that you will have in the end. So, and that's the same thing like when you're creating, I'm going to use business as an example. When you're creating a program, when you're creating a business plan, whatever the case may be, you have to get rid of what's not necessary. And the fire does that. When you come out of the kiln, now it's time to decide, what do I want this end piece to look like? Now you have to glaze. Okay, so it's like having a blank canvas. What do I want it to look like? So you put all of your elements together, you put all of your pieces together, and you have a blank canvas to make it happen. The only thing with glaze is it needs the fire again to get beautified. Glaze is actually chemical, we call them chemicals, but they're really elements of the earth. So there's oxides which bring color. There's frits that help the front of the the final piece have that flow kind of look to it. There's a lot of different elements that go into creating a glaze, but when you put it on, it doesn't look so great. It doesn't look great. Like, for example, in order to be able to get a burgundy color in the bucket after you make the glaze, it looks yellow. And people say, how on earth is this going to be burgundy? Well, the magic of the fire, that's the element that you need in order to be able to bring the beauty out of it. So after you put the glaze on, now you go back into the fire. And then when you open the kiln and everything is done, you're like this finished product. So And then I say, it's off to the gallery with you. Go ahead, show off. You know, so,
That's cute.
yeah. So so the steps are to first prepare, second open, third mold and shape, fourth is to wait, fifth is to trim, sixth is to get into the fire, seventh is your glazing process, eighth is back into the fire again, and ninth is you get to show off.
Beautifully illustrated, right? I mean, that's a beautiful gift that you were given to me. I mean, it's like
Absolutely.
critical. And so you work through with people to help them all through those stages. And one of the things that you didn't include that I was thinking about is timing. I mean, you have to have the right timing for the drying, the timing for the kiln, you know, those elements are specific timing. You can't overcook and undercook it. It's got to be just right.
Absolutely. It's like making a cake. If you make or bread, if you put it in the oven and you don't have it long enough, you're going to get a very doughy bread. If you put it in too late, it's going to be, if you keep it too long, it's going to be dry. You know, the same thing like with a cake. Like if you don't do the right time, you're not going to get the best product. So, yeah.
Well, that's I mean the great analogy and a great, I would say, structure, right, for a coaching. That's amazing. So you have a fun quote by Michelangelo you were talking about. I think that you know, and I've heard it many times, but it's just magical to me. So he could see the David inside the stone when there was nothing, you know, he knew it in his spirit that that's where it was going, right? Does that, and you like that quote? What do you have it exactly, or do you?
I don't have it exactly, but the
I
quote
might have it
that
exactly if you wrote it down. Let me
I
see.
did. Well, it's in my bio, I think. But Michelangelo believed that every single piece of stone created a masterpiece on the inside of it, and his job was to take away the excess.
Every block of stone has a statue inside of it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. Very, very cool. Just remove what isn't necessary, and it's there. It's beautiful.
Okay.
So, you know, you stop to think about somebody in the 15th century having that kind of forethought, mind, you know, and just having that depth of character to see that the artist, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have an artist in us that we don't really know how to expose. Maybe we don't think we have a talent, but we may not have ever tried it.
Exactly. And you'd be shocked what you discover when you know, people have said to me, just using pottery as the example, people have said to me, oh, I tried this and I'm not good at this and blah blah blah. Well, part of the thing is, if you don't have a track to run on, if you don't have a plan on how you're going to create the product, you know, the end product, and you don't have somebody who can teach you that, of course we're gonna fail numerously. And the other thing is going back to the Michelangelo quote. One thing that people are, you know, when you're in a situation and you are looking at, like, what is this going to look like in the end? Most of us will go to, oh, if only I had this, or if only I had that. And we bring on more and more things in order to be able to create whatever it is we're looking for. But in reality, maybe it's about taking things away and letting go of stuff that no longer serves you, like the excess rock on the sculptures that Michelangelo created. Like, sometimes it's taking things away and seeing what's behind the curtain, if you will, and going with that, because there's always something that's going to show up, you know, after you let go. And it's usually where you want to be, but you didn't recognize it because you thought you needed more in order to be able to make it happen.
And you want to keep, so the word simplicity kept coming to mind. Why we do overcomplicate things typically in our world, and we've got YouTube and every other source out there that's going to tell us all the things that we can go buy. Amazon just as a drop ship, right? So why
Mhm.
not? And so
Exactly.
that, to me, that's just yeah, just keep it simple and try. You can build on, but you don't have to start perfect. So to me, I remember as a kid, very rarely have I done it, but I love that. It was just interesting, and you've got to have the exact right pressure as another piece to your product, right? Your
Mhm,
coaching, right?
mhm.
So the right amount of pressure to keep it even and smooth. So if it gets off just a little bit, you might have to start over.
Mhm. Or you may have something that's a little bit different than what everybody else might get. So, we all have flaws. We all have flaws, and if we look at us as creations,
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
that was good. So if we look at, we're perfectly imperfect. So, if we have a little flaw, yes, there are things that we can change, but sometimes there are things that we are gifted, if you will, that make us different from other people. So I think that there's a lot of things that you can look at in order to be able to see the beauty in people who are not perfect. And so if your pottery is a certain way when you're done, maybe it's a little bit off center or whatever. I mean, I've sent people home with a lot of things that they thought were imperfect when they first created them, but when they added the glaze and they went through the firing processes and everything else, they get home and they're like, oh, and people are like, oh, this is so cool. This looks so great. And we get to be open-minded about things that are not necessarily perfect and realize that other people appreciate us just the way that we are, just like the pottery.
I love that. And I wish I'd have thought to grab it. I think I still have it. I think third grade or something. I made a little. It was just pressed, but we went through the firing thing, and it's kind of this green and this little. It was like a little pitcher, but it's really thick and really
Probably a pinch pot.
yeah, probably. But just trying to figure out something to do. But I still have it.
Yeah,
So
you're
so
holding on to it.
do you have a kiln in your home? Do you have all the tools in your home?
Where
Are
I
there
am right now, no, but I have transferred them to a friend's house that I can go there anytime to make pottery.
good
And
friend?
actually, yeah, and she was actually the first person who I taught pottery to when I moved to Pennsylvania, and we become dear friends. And so she has all my equipment, and I can go there and make pottery anytime I want within her schedule, of course.
Well,
So
that's a nice friend, right? Just
yeah.
good, and that probably keeps her more engaged with it as well. So, do you sell the pieces? Do you have anything right there in front of you that you could pick up and show that you've made, or is there
No,
no?
no.
I know you
I
said you're
have,
kind of was clearing things off, so I just
yeah,
like, we should have thought about that.
should have thought about that, but yeah, you can look on my Facebook page. There's a section of pictures that are
Like
pottery
an
on.
album,
Yeah,
maybe an
there
album.
is an
Okay.
album of pottery
So
there.
this is Teresa Velardi, T without an H, Teresa without an H, Teresa Velardi, because it'll be mostly podcasts instead of views. So, might as well look at that. That's Teresa Velardi on Facebook and teresavelardi.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you have
Authentic
Authentic
endeavor.
Endeavors Publishing. So you're multifaceted, multi-talented, but it's all about molding
Creating. It's
and
creative.
creating and expressing our own truth and going back to the blessings that we all have
Mm-hmm.
and to
Mm-hmm.
sharing them.
Yeah. And so, I think that a lot of people, like I think my belief is that we get everything that's necessary for us to live an abundant life when we are put on this earth. I think God gives everybody their special gifts and talents and expects us to use them in order to be able to create a good life for ourselves. Well, we get distracted. I call it, what is it? Shiny object syndrome. We get distracted with, oh, I'll go over here, I'll make more money at this there. Okay, I'll go over here because I can make money over here, or because something has caught my eye and I think I can do something with it. Really, what happens most of the time is that as quickly as those things come in, they go out and you go back to what you were gifted for. So why go through the distraction process?
Just, yeah, it's probably easier said than done for most of us, right? That
Exactly.
there's something, you know, they're inherent, our
Mhm,
inherent gifts, that if we would just hone in on that and then
mhm,
find a way, there's nothing on the face of the earth that somebody else hasn't done really, that we could at least, very few people have found something that no one else has done, not in our day and age. And I mean that
exactly.
as far as gifts and talents. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
there's not things that are not created, but
And that's not
yeah.
to say that you can't have other things going on. Like, I believe in having multiple streams of income. If there are things that call you, if there are things that are a fit for you and you can make them happen and stay true to yourself, by all means, it's abundance, 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 abundance. There's always something that we can, um, grab onto, if you will, to increase that factor in our lives. But it has to be something, in my opinion, it has to be something that you feel aligned with, rather than something that's just going to put some cash in your pocket.
And so much of my world, and I'm really actually studying, learning more to be intuitive and to really listen to that still small voice. You have to turn off some of this noise out here to hear your own still small voice and to
Mhm.
receive the gifts of your wisdom and the
Mhm.
wisdom of that's speaking to you at all times, and so often we've got noise going on all the time and we can't hear it.
Yeah.
So,
And when you do hear it, though, pay attention. Pay attention, because sometimes, like, for example, when I was standing at the altar and I was ready to marry my now ex-husband, I literally heard God say to me, Teresa, don't do this. And I looked around at all the people who had come out for this wedding from all different places on the continent, and I was like, all right, well, let's see. My father doubled up his his dental appointments so he would look great for the pictures. My future mother-in-law drove me crazy making sure that everything matched. All these people came, how can I say no? I looked at my mother and my mother knew. My mother and I were tight like this, and she knew. And the priest asked me a second time, and again I heard, Teresa, don't do this. I have something so much better for you. And instead of being true to myself and walking away, I said yes. I felt my insides drop. I lived a life of um, less than ideal, let's say, without getting into anything. Um, and then, and I abandoned myself. I abandoned myself for the sake of someone else. And so, but the opportunity to regroup and recount yourself, or put yourself back together, like, I let go of all the pottery the minute that I was separated from my husband. First thing I did was go to a pottery studio. Go figure. I went to a pottery studio and I started making pots. And then I had shows in my house that were, and I had shows that I went to at various craft fairs and whatnot. And I gained a list, and people came to my home for the pieces that I wasn't transporting to these shows. And it was beautiful. And then when moved to Pennsylvania, of course, I set up my studio and I continued to do whatever it was. And I felt like I was able to devote more time because there was nobody blocking the way and trying to distract me. So I was able to devote more time to my gifts and talents. And then the publishing company arose after realizing that I could use what I had been gifted with that I first knew of as a way in order to be able to help people, become clear with their stories.
So you do sell your pottery.
Yeah.
You gift it and sell it, I'm guessing.
Yes.
How do, I mean, this is just off the cuff here, but how do you learn to price things? Do you?
It's interesting. It's an interesting process because there's, of course, there's the time and the effort and the materials that go into it. And again, it's like what will people pay?
Well, and you think about writing. So the
Mm.
time and energy and effort to do many things, you never get the hourly value out of that.
No.
It's that you find your material costs and you add something on for yourself. It's kind of what
Yeah,
it probably
exactly.
boils down to.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, but and people pay for what they want, what they like. Whatever calls to them, they'll pay for it. If they don't find value in it, they'll pass it up. And not everybody is the same. Not every area, like people who live in a certain area may have lesser finances than somebody in a different area. An affluent area, people are more free with letting go of money for things that are not necessarily a great need, but a gift or a something to beautify themselves or their home. So you never know. You never know.
We were
But
talking about provision earlier, and that wasn't exactly the word, but this is, there you've mentioned it a couple of times. There is no lack in our world. We are born abundant. There is a distribution issue, but if you can take a breath, you've been provided for, right? So I ain't skinny. I've been provided for. I can take a breath. Even if you're in the gutter, you've been provided for somehow, or you wouldn't be here. So you'd be gone.
Exactly.
So I make that point every so often because I feel like we forget how blessed we
Yeah.
really are,
Yeah.
especially here in our country, as kind of crazy as it seems. Where else is better, So it'll be hard pressed to find some place that there's very few other countries that have, if any, the word dream after them. American dream, right?
Yeah.
So you've got let's get back to the publishing. So you've got the time goes so fast. So you've got a new book, a daily gift of kindness. You're looking for authors that would like to contribute. We got the rest of the year. It doesn't take long to write a 300 word chapter.
300 words. Yeah. 250.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot of words, but it's a lot. If you bring it from your heart, it's not a lot of effort either, right? It's, speak something, and you can become a published author with Teresa Velardi. And what I would like to ask you, what do you find, what is different about your publishing company that you are really proud of or that you feel confident about?
So the publishing company has several different imprints. Like I do this series under, we call it Spirit Book Endeavors. I have a imprint called Kingdom Book Endeavors. That's for Christian books. And the journal that I wrote that includes the pottery story, Become Who You Were Created to Be, is published under that, and that's also it's also available on Amazon. I have also a wellness category, and I have a children's book category. Book Endeavors is for children's books, and I'm blessed to have a really incredible illustrator, and together we create these beautiful children's books that they just light me up. Every single one of them has a message, and
What age children, do you mind asking?
It doesn't matter.
Is it timeless?
It's like, I have books that are chapter books for kids, and I also have like um children's books that are good from, like you start reading for kids that are, first learning to read, or every story has something for everybody. Goose Farm Adventure, which was one of the first ones that I put together, has a story about a character who's a goose, and he goes to his grandparents' house where they have a fruits and vegetables farm. And so A to Z, there are all these fruits and vegetables. Kids learn about fruits and vegetables. And then the next story in that series is about being responsible. Baseball glove adventure. Goose lends his grandfather's glove to his friend Squirrely. Squirrely loses it, and they go on a search to get it. And in the end, they stay friends. So solving.
It sounds like you've got a passion for these stories, because you get animated about it. So
Mhm.
I have a 26-month-old, yeah, ish, grandbaby that lived with me for the first 2 years, and we read Wander, if you remember the book Wander, when she was infant, not even awake basically, but I read that whole book to her back then. And then the other day we were looking at a book, and the little boy had question marks all around his head.
Mhm.
And I said, these are question marks. This means we're asking a question. And I said, see this little bitty question mark in the words and the sentences down here. And I didn't ever say anything else about it. And the next day she wanted to read that book again, and she got to that page, and she found one of those little question marks. I'm like, this is
Yeah,
readers are leaders, right? We're gonna want to make
exactly.
sure our babies have good foundation
Mhm.
for just learning. And I just was kind of pretty amazed by that. She's looking at
Yeah.
that little bitty question mark in the print.
Yeah.
It's
And
fun.
it's children's books. I have children's books that, like, there's one of the first authors that I worked with, Jane Caponegro, who helped me find my illustrator. Um, she wrote a book called Yes, I Am. And there's all different, it goes A to Z. Yes, I am A to Z. I am kind. I am, you know, I'm I'm beautiful. Every letter stands for something positive
An
to put in,
affirmation, right?
an
So yes.
affirmation, right, to put in these children's minds. And so, I get a kick out of what is submitted to me. And I am blessed to be able to have a barrage. And they're on AuthenticEndeavorsPublishing.com. If you go to the imprints and you click on book endeavors, you'll see all the children's books, and there are more coming. I have a gentleman who wrote a story about bringing an older dog into a house with an infant child. And now the next one is going to be bringing a new dog into a house with a toddler. So, it gives help for parents, it gives help for the kids, helps them to, be gentle, learn how to learn things. It helps them to learn things. There's a message in every single one of the books that I choose to publish. So
That's neat.
blessed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and the thing is that I'm what's called a hybrid publisher. So I'm not a big publishing company where they keep most of the money and you get pennies per book.
And you give up your rights with the main national or the
Yeah, a
big
lot
name
of them.
publishers.
Exactly. You give up the rights to material. I take none of your rights away from you. You just get permission for me to publish your book, and all the royalties go to you. We put it in an account that you have created, and all the royalties go directly to you. Take nothing. You pay for the service, but of getting it done, but everything that comes from it on the back end belongs to you, and I keep no
I
rights to the publishing.
I do believe that might be your differentiator from the people I know, the publishers I've
Mhm,
been around. So
mhm.
it might cost a little bit more upfront, but you get to keep every every bit of every cell, right? So
Right,
that's
exactly. And I have a team that I work with. I don't do it all myself. I have a team that I work with. I have the illustrator, the formatter, cover design. We do cover design, we do editing, we do professional formatting. We put it all together for you and put it up on Amazon and Ingram, which are distribution channels. Amazon being the biggest retailer, and Ingram is the one that does the distribution to big box stores, mom and pop bookshops, libraries, etc. So make sure that you get the most for your money.
well, it's really good to know. I'd never, I think hybrid is the way to go. Now, I did self-publishing on my little book, and I've done more publishing with another publisher too. But it's a lot of work to figure out how to do all those things. But my 3 books, and my third one isn't done yet, but my 3 books, I did my own covers. I designed, I mean, I did all the work. I was so much of the work, right? So I had my covers done before I've written the third. Outrageous Courageous isn't even written yet. And so,
Mhm.
but I got, I don't know, I just kind of got a wild hair and got them done.
And that's
So
the thing.
that's a head start. It is for me anyway,
Yeah.
to not
Mhm.
have to worry about that after the fact. So anyway, I knew
Mhm.
the titles and I knew the covers, but I,
Mhm.
hadn't written the book, written the 2 of the books yet when
And
that
some
happened.
people don't know how to write. Some people don't know how to write. They say, "Oh, I can't write. I can't write." Well, let me tell you, in today's day and age, we give you a tip that for people who are listening to this who think that they can't write, I can tell you right now, if you have one of these, a phone, you can write, because all you have to do is open up an app, even send yourself an email, and you can speak into your phone, send it to yourself, put it in a Word document, and and then send it to someone who can do the editing and so forth. There's everybody
There's
has
no excuse.
there's no excuse. There are no boundaries to keep you except for you. You're the only boundary that keeps you silent, if you will, because and for a long time, I started out writing, of course, as I said, in my journal. And then I was like, people asked me to share my story, and I was like, I was afraid. I was afraid. What if this one reads it? What if that one reads it? And if I'm telling the truth, but I learned how to get the message across without being, um, you know, a detriment, and without it being a detriment to anyone else. And bottom line is, when you have, and my theory is this too: when you have gone through something, when you have gone through something that has not been so pleasant to go through, and you come out the other side and you can bring gratitude to the process, it's our obligation. Exactly, it's our obligation, I feel, to get the story out there, because if it helps one person, you've done your job. And
If
so,
it with hope, right? So
yeah.
my show is like how people are overcoming and how we can offer hope in the end. And
Mhm.
everybody is perfect, exactly who and where they are. And everybody has a story. There's not a person alive that hasn't gone through something that is, part of their story. And most of us often, I was thinking about this today. I mean, when you read someone's resume, I mean, I told you I carried the Olympic torch. I'm wearing my little Olympic torch vest. We
I'd
all
be
have
careful, I
stories,
would.
and but it's just what I did, right? It was just part of my life. So it doesn't seem that big of a deal till you start adding it up and going,
Mhm.
well, people, people think that's cool. Well, it is. And it was a very huge honor. But the deal is every one of us has stories, and an awful lot of us, uh, good for good or bad. But the point is, everybody has a story. Now, Zig Ziglar, I knew him in person. I'm part of a Zig Ziglar Legacy Certified Training Program with the family of Zig Ziglar, Tom, Julie, and Cindy, and amazing human beings. And he was
Mhm.
an extraordinary. But every
Extraordinary.
time you saw him or he saw you, he would say, "Have you written your book yet? Have you written your book yet?" And so
Mhm.
it's a good quote as well.
Mhm.
Well, Teresa, our time, I mean, this time has gone really fast today. I'm just always amazed. And I I appreciate you being my guest. I appreciate you coming on. I'm so happy that we are becoming acquainted and friends through this senior troopers and all
Absolutely.
that. That's so fun, and other endeavors as well. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you. And any last words, anything you want to just toss out there, or re-emphasize your information? Or
I think you said the magic word, gratitude. I'm grateful for you as well. Find things to be grateful for in your life, and you will have more. You will always have enough. You will always have abundance in your life. Share who you are with other people, whether it be through story or through speaking or through being a guest on Charla's podcast, or mine for that matter, conversations that make a
oh,
difference.
I
Yeah.
kept meaning to bring that up while you were talking. In Conversations That Make a Difference podcast. How long have you had your podcast? And that's
3 years.
where can we find that? 3
Um,
years.
you can go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com. I have them there. And it's also on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, dreamvision7.com. And it's always about talking to people, finding out who they are. People fascinate me. They fascinate me. That's one of the reasons why I love what I do. I love what I do. I love the stories. I love the people. As far as getting in touch with me, teresavelardi.com, authenticendeavorspublishing.com. If you have a question, there's a way for you to submit that to me. And you can see me on Facebook, mostly Facebook, Teresa Velardi. I think it's 5'7". Teresa, there was a couple of Teresa Velardis. Believe it or not, there's a couple of Teresa Velardis who spell their name the same way as I do. Interesting.
Well, and there's Charla. I found some Charla Andersons. I mean, so really, I was talking to a girl yesterday, and her best friend growing up was Charla with the Charla, and I was like, there's a lot of us, but it's Charla Andersons. It's kind of funny. Anyway, it has been a great pleasure having you today, and I encourage you to, anybody listening, please go check out Teresa Velardi. And next week we'll be back. This is show number 50. This is a landmark show for me. And they just keep coming. And all of a sudden it's number 50. How did that happen? And so we're going to start season 2 next month. So thank you so much, Teresa, for being part of my world and my life. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the Charla Anderson Show next week. Thank you so much. And always remember that we need to choose joy.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. The Charla Anderson Show, encouraging you to stand strong and courageous with bold faith, no fear, immense hope, kindness, and love, especially towards yourself. Visit charlaanderson.com for replays, blogs, and more on her ever-expanding website, as well as watch her live TV show on winwinwomen.tv, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so that we can continue learning together and growing this community of beautiful souls, we invite you to share the Charla Anderson Show with your circle of friends. Until we meet again next week, remember always, choose joy.